I would say last year was my first year of profitability, and I'm hoping this year, is a bit more of a breakout year. It's a little bit of a learning curve trading on stream, right?
Right. What did Topstep say? 3% of traders in 2024 took a payout.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, and I think about it, and I'm lucky. Like I've taken payouts from Topstep, from my funded futures, from Top One. I do think props are meant to be traded a little bit more aggressively, say, than your own maybe personal cash account.
I agree.
And I think maybe some beginners don't necessarily realize that at first. I think the 20% consistency rule can be beneficial because it's like it gives you that target that you need to like lock it in, and when, okay, it's time to turn it off, walk away, call it a day. It's okay if trading just like pays for your family vacation this year, or if trading just adds an extra 10 grand to your savings account so you can retire a couple years early.
Tyler Davis in the house. Risk Life News finally makes his appearance on the Day Trading Show. Tyler, what's up, buddy? It's funny. We should be doing this in person, bro, because you're not too far from me. We figured that out when we were trying to set this up.
We should have, man. And maybe we'll run it back. Wait, what is this show called again?
The Day Trading Show.
The Day This is about, so we're talking about day trading today?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. I wasn't sure. And is this on like Netflix or Amazon Prime or?
Hulu Plus, actually. No.
Okay,
I'm just kidding. YouTube. We're going to be on YouTube, Tyler. It's going to be YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be good for you so you can reach some new people. I was hoping we would get your story out to everybody, get you on here for the first time. It sucks you didn't know the name of the show, but we'll get through it.
No. I'm hoping a busy schedule. I did realize it's after 2:00 on MLK Day today. So yes. I meant to stop and get some Hennessy to celebrate, but I didn't have time, so I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. Is that all right? Can I grab a drink?
Yeah, go get it. I think you should.
Okay, hold on.
Let's see what he's got, everybody.
I just have scotch.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to get the Hennessy, but
I already got some Hennessy in here. I'm glad.
Yeah, you got it. I mean,
I would like the scotch, but we can cheers here. You know what I'm saying? So we can cheers. Yeah. Are you going to drink it from the bottle, or are you going to pour
it?
Okay,
no.
You're going to be civilized.
After 2:00, you have to have a glass nearby on the rocks. I'm not crazy. Just something to take the edge off,
Yeah, I know you're probably a little bit nervous for this. You know what I'm saying? I feel like at this point, we've been trying to do this for so long, the nerves have probably built up a little bit. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, definitely a little nervous here. This is a big deal. I feel like this has got to be. this has got to be one of the biggest. What's the show? The Day Trading Show. It's got to be one of the biggest day trading shows.
It is one of the biggest. If not the biggest, it's one of the biggest for sure. Well, cheers, buddy. Here we go. Cheers to that.
Cheers to you. Thanks for having me on. And I know, sorry, now that we're cheers to Dr. Martin Luther King. We'll toast to him. Lovely.
Good. Love it. All right.
So let's get started. Sorry for that interruption there.
No. It's good. It's a good way to get it started. I'm glad we got to get that icebreaker out of the way. So,
good.
Tyler, I know you because you guys made a video of me probably like 2 years ago. I was honored. I loved it. And then I started following you, and you make me laugh all the time. And I think that you fill a huge hole in the trading space that we need. So I'm appreciative of you and your content, dude. But how did you get into day trading? I want to understand, like, why are you in this space to begin with? You know what I mean? Because everybody's so serious, and you're not.
Yeah. So before day trading, when I was in college, I tried to do stand up for a little while. I was doing open mic nights and doing that whole thing. And I just got into a point in my life. I mean, I can start, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I can start with like the jobs that I was kind of working before I got into it. But I just was at a point that I knew I wanted to do something else. Like I just didn't want to work a 9-to-5 job my whole life. It wasn't that I was even necessarily doing just 9-to-5 stuff, but my family has a business. So I started working in the family business. And I had been working there for a long time. Both my brothers work there. My grandfather started it like 40 years ago. My dad runs everything now. And so I grew up working there. It's like a landscape, hardscape. They do installations. They have a garden center. They do all that stuff, right? So since I was like 15 years old, I was working there in the summers, and then, was working there full time, doing like sales and management there. And I come from just an entrepreneurial entrepreneurial family. Like I said, my grandfather started that business almost 40 years ago. Started a pump business as well. He's semi-retired now. So anyway, I just come from, and my dad runs a business. So my dad actually opened a indoor sporting facility, which was like roller hockey. They did birthday parties and all kinds of stuff. Right. So yeah. So I actually, after 10 years of working at the family business, Country Farms, I left. I went and started working at the sporting facility as the GM there. And while I was doing that, COVID happened. And I think that's like was the birth of a lot of traders. At this time,
one of the biggest mistakes that I see traders making is they're choosing their prop firm based on emotion instead of logic. They're chasing cheap accounts, flashy payouts, or whatever somebody posted on Twitter without understanding the rules, the drawdown mechanics, or whether the account even fits how they trade. That's why I'm really excited to announce today's sponsor is Prop Firm Match. Prop Firm Match lets you compare over 40 different vetted prop firms on the stuff that actually matters, like trailing versus static drawdown, payout rules, copy trading limits, pricing, and long-term scalability all in one place, propfirmmatch.com. What I also really like is firms that I've actually traded with, like Top One Futures, are listed on Prop Firm Match as some of the top firms for 2026. So you're not just getting random rankings, you're seeing real, relevant options that serious traders are using. Now, if you're treating your trading like a real business and you're not trying to gamble between account roulette to hope your payouts hit, head to propfirmmatch.com, do your research, and then use the code MATCH at whatever prop firm you choose to save the most money possible. Again, propfirmmatch.com, compare your firms, and then hit that code MATCH with whatever firm you'd like to save on your next challenge. Now let's get back to the video.
I had started getting into like trying to flip like clothes, like online, like buying like Supreme stuff, Supreme drops and sell it online, StockX stuff, sneakers, all that stuff. I was looking at the trading cards, like all the little side hustles, right? I just started going down the rabbit hole of side hustles during COVID, like I think a lot of us probably did. That being said, you had Mr. Perfect on Ace 2 weeks ago. The guy never ever loses a trade. I'm the opposite of that, by the way. But so I started trading, right? You had COVID, which the COVID crash was, I don't know, maybe a couple months or whatever. And then you had like 2 years of a crazy bull run after COVID, right? And that's when all these trading influencers were starting to blow up online, at least from, what I can remember. And so I discovered trading during that period. I monitored it from afar via social media for a little while. And then in November of 2021, was the first time I ever joined a trading Discord. And then December of 2021, I signed up for Rake Trade's first ever Mastermind 1.0. So an OG Rake Trade student. But yeah, so that's kind of like a speed run through what I was doing.
Okay, so before we leave that, and then I want to hear about the Rake Trades experience, because I haven't had anybody on that actually has spoken about that. So we should talk about that. Cool. But
for sure.
Do you miss the hardscaping and working with your family?
I'll say this. There were time periods when I was sort of there was a period there where when I went from the hardscaping to the hockey rink, COVID happened. So we got shut down. And ultimately towards the end of that business, my parents ended up selling that business, and it had been around for 20 years. Like I grew up in that place. I met my wife in that place. My partner is actually my wife's dad. Crazy. So like they were partners. That's how we got married. So that place was always really like, near and dear to us. So they sold that. So that was kind of like a big life change. And at that point in time, I had the decision to sort of go back to that place of comfort at Country Farms and kind of settle in. But I had a buddy at the time who had started his own marketing agency. And I like to skateboard as well. That's something I do. And I play hockey. And so I was friends with him through hockey. And he started this and he's like, hey, listen, would you be interested in coming and working for me and like editing videos and bringing on clients and getting into that kind of things? I've seen these edits. I know you don't have any real professional experience in video editing, but he's like, I know you have an eye for it just from watching your skate edits and fun things that you do, that kind of thing. Right. So he ended up giving me a job at his marketing agency. And that was sort of like, I knew I didn't want to go back to that. Like I knew it could be a good career for me, but I knew it wasn't what I was passionate about. Right. Like it could be comfortable. I was good at it. I knew the industry. I'm good with people. So like, once I started doing sales there, I was doing well, and I knew I could have went there and made probably better money than I was, but I was like, I want to do something where I can kind of use my creativity more and that kind of thing. So that's how I got into the content side of things. I started editing videos for my buddy and his marketing agency. And I know your question was, do I miss that? The answer I would say is no, I definitely don't. Like, I mean, there's
yeah, it
times,
doesn't sound like it. Sounds like you have some thoughts about it, but not too much towards
for
it.
sure. Yeah.
Like
And don't get me wrong. I love that place and I had a lot of good years there. And obviously it's been good to my family and everything like that. It's just like, if I was still just doing, you know, selling landscape hardscape materials when I was 50, I just don't think I would have fulfilled what my
Dude,
dreams are.
A
You know what I
lot
mean?
of people can relate to that. A lot of us had that job that we were younger that you could see yourself just staying in and working your way up and doing okay. And then you have that itch to do something more, maybe more up your own alley, right? So then, okay, you do the rake trades thing. How does the rake trades thing transition then to you making trading content?
Yeah, so I did the Rake Trades Mastermind, the first ever one he did. So he had a pretty small group. I think he did about 100 people was what he would do his group set. So he had just started a Discord, so it's just like the 100 people in there. We take his mastermind, and he decided that he was going to do like a meet and greet with his first ever group. And I live right outside of Pittsburgh, and it just so happened that there were like 10 people, 10 traders that were in his group out of the 100 that were all had lived in Pittsburgh, which was like more, I don't know, for some reason that was and he's out in California. So it was not like near him. It was just kind of a quidinky dink, I guess. But anyway, so he decided to take a trip out to Pittsburgh. So I got to meet him personally and I got to meet a bunch of other like local traders.
That's sick.
One of the guys, Mike, that worked for him as like one of his admins in his Discord was actually a hockey player that knew a lot of the same people I knew. So like and he traded full time. So it made trading kind of this real thing kind of right off the bat. Like, oh, I met these people in person. This is real. This is just some weird internet thing. Right. So, so that's how I got to know them a little bit better. And I was doing the marketing. I was still working at my buddy's marketing agency, doing content and stuff like that. And their Hermosi, or I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
You know, his editing style started kind of blowing up with like the captions that were sort of like a little crazy and all over the place. And obviously, you know, you do a lot of content now, but that sort of thing was just blowing up. And so Rake was looking for somebody to edit his content. And I had met him at this time. So we had a little bit of a relationship and one thing led to another. So about a year, I think, almost after originally taking his mastermind, which would have been, it started January 2022. I think it was maybe October or November of that year, I started working as his video editor.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and I helped him at the time, his Instagram, I think he was around 20,000 followers. And then I did his edits up until he hit like the 80,000 mark. And we had a lot of videos like blow up, and that was super cool. And at the time, like there wasn't all the apps that would like do all these. So I was like manually like doing all these these things would take me hours to do it. And but I loved it because it was like I'm making money in addition to my job that I can use to fund my trading. I'm working in the trading space, it's trading content, like all this stuff. So it was super cool. It was a way I was able to kind of integrate myself into making content and trading content and all that sort of thing. So I did that behind the scenes for probably about a year and a half. And at that point, he had sort of, there was no falling out. Rake and I are great friends. His Instagram, he was like shadow banned. And he wasn't really growing at the time. And his manager, Callan, had started editing some videos and stuff like that at the time. So I was doing less editing work for him. And so when it came to the content, I was like, do I want to make trading content? You know what I mean? Like I enjoy comedy. I enjoy being funny. Like I said, I tried stand up for a little while in my 20s. And I was like, how would I approach even trading content? Like, I'm not profitable. Like, I don't want to, I'm not a liar. I'm not willing to come out and like pretend to be some profitable trader that I'm not. So I was like, how could I approach this that's like real, that's like up my alley? And so there's actually a show on Thrasher Magazine that's called Skateline NBD. And this dude, Gary, he's just kind of over the top, and it's like a news show. It's like a 5-minute news show where he kind of fast hits you with all the things that are happening in the world of skateboarding, and he's talking shit, and like it's an entertaining show that I enjoyed watching. So it sort of inspired me. I was like, oh, how about a trading news show? Like that would be cool.
There it is. Got it.
And so that was the birth of Risk Life News. And to be honest with you, I was surprised. I launched with like really quick success. My first video, I I hinged the term, or hinged. I need to hold on 1 second. I'm gonna talking to him.
A longtime friend of the podcast, TradeZella is offering you, as the listener, 20% off their journaling software. The back testing is incredible, and they have a ton of new features coming in 2026. So use the code ASFX to save 20% at TradeZella.com. Again, the code is ASFX at TradeZella.com. Hey traders, you've probably heard me mention the Black Shirt Club before. That's our group coaching program. We meet 3 times per week. We actually have a meeting today, and we are looking for some of you to fill empty seats in the mentorship. A couple of people just graduated to finish the year, so we want to make sure the group stays full. Head to asfx.biz/BSC to read more about what the club includes. You can also go to that website and book a free call with me. I'll hop on with you for 10 minutes and I'll answer any questions that you have. This is a $500 a month program. No like crazy fees, no hidden contracts, no cancel anytime. We're very flexible. We're not here to hurt you. We are here to help you make more money and help you get around traders that are trying to better themselves through more discipline and more accountability. So if that sounds like something that interests you, asfx.biz/BSC.
There we go.
Let the scotch talk. Let the Hennessy talk.
One more. Dr. King. Shout out Dr. King.
Dr. King.
But yeah, so where was I here? Oh, so my first video, and this was sort of my idea off the bat, was like, okay, my news show was structured into like 3 different tiers. I had like market news, where I just spoke about like things that were happening with certain stocks or futures, or if there were earnings reports, whatever. It'd be kind of quick, just market news. And then I believe I invented the term tradefluencer. So then I had what I called tradefluencer news, which is, other traders on social media. I would make fun of them in certain ways, or shout out things they're doing or whatever it may be. And then I had like my personal trading news, which was, basically me talking about blowing up accounts or whatever it may be, right? Just honestly share kind of my journey as we went, all in a humorous way, right? So, and that's how, you became one of the people featured in my Tradefluencer news, which is how you came across my
What was
content.
the most viral one?
Well, so this is what I was actually meaning to say is I found pretty early success, because the very first video I had talked about like Jay Dunn and Stock Market Wolf, and I probably Rake, and all the traders, they all were good sports about it, right? Like I was making fun of them, but in a, I'd give them back
very
compliments.
And yeah, very
light. I was not like going too hard at anybody, like anything like that, right? So everybody was pretty down and enjoyed it. So all these bigger tradefluencers would then share the post. So like my very first video, I think, got like 50,000 views or something like that, and it was like
that is a lot for a first video.
Yeah, and it was like a 4.5 minute landscape video on Instagram, and it got like a lot. I could look, I'm sure, but they started the very next video. There was this Lambo Raul. You've probably seen him, right? And
of course.
And so I did stuff on him, and he shared it, and I think that got like 70,000 views. And at the time, I was really just discovering these people. I knew very little about the trading space. So like when I discovered him, I then like discovered his sister, and I didn't even know it was his sister. So in the 3rd episode, I was like talking about that and his dad has like 1 million followers, and he shared the post. So that one got like, the 3rd video I posted got like over 100,000 views, and so I got to a few thousand followers like really quickly. I know you see that I only have 6,000 followers now. It's like, holy fuck, what did you do? You dropped the ball somehow. But yeah, so that was like the start, and it popped off like really quickly, and and I did a lot of those videos. To be honest with you, I never should have slowed down on them. The problem was at the time I didn't have a lot of money. I was doing everything myself, like so writing the scripts, filming, post editing. Like I did a lot of post editing stuff to it. So like it would probably take me at least a week, like almost a full-time job of a week to probably just put together a video, maybe even longer. It's a lot, right? But yeah, so that. I can kind of quit rambling on that, but you asked me what was the most viral thing, and I think the most viral video I did, the first prop firm that blew up, I think it was my funded, who was it? My Forex funds, I think it was.
No, yes, they were like
because they were like the ones who they had a lawsuit where they were quoted saying like slip them to hell. This was in the Forex space, right?
Yes.
And when I first started making content, a lot of the Forex companies who started reaching out to me. And so I was like sort of paying attention to all these Forex, and you were into Forex early on too, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you do something? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of it was Forex stuff, but I did a skit in the middle of one of my news videos where, you know, the scene in Anchorman where all the news anchor crews come and they meet in the alley and they all start fighting, right?
Yeah.
So I took like all of like the prop firm CEOs and influencers' faces and I photoshopped them onto all the Anchorman people.
I think I've seen this one.
And edited that. And yeah, and that blew up a lot. That was an 11-minute video that did like 11-minute video on Instagram that did like, I don't know. It wasn't my biggest watched video, but for 11 minutes, it had like 50,000 views or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. And then yeah, the rest is history. I'm still here plugging away.
So now how is the transition to what you're doing now with Stock Dad streaming? I feel like there's like more prop firm talk now too coming from you. What made that transition happen?
Yeah. So, I can't remember exactly when this was. This was probably at this point when I started making content. I think I was about 1.5 years into trading. And at this point, I'm not really editing for Rake anymore. And there was a certain point there where my editing for Rake overtook my marketing job that I had. So with Rake, I was sort of like in limbo where I didn't really have a job. I was still doing some part-time work with the marketing agency. And I had gotten a deal they were at the time it was called Easton Consulting. They were a Forex prop firm group. I don't know if you remember Angelo was his name. The funded trader, right? Yeah. So they hired me on. They started something called Prop Firm Journal. And so like that was like my next gig. And so that sort of started me working in the prop firm space. So I've worked for a couple of prop firms now. I worked for them for a little bit, and then the MT5 thing happened and they went under. I got a job with Funder Pro, which is another Forex prop firm. I was editing content for them and I started hosting a stream for them. And then when Jay Dunn and Danny did FFF, Jay Dunn had reached out to me and actually hired me to host the Funded Futures Family live TV show, whatever. And before I ever started, the whole drama and beef with Patrick Whelan occurred on Twitter, and Jay Dunn just ended up ghosting me. And, and that sort of just all fell apart. So that led to me back to sort of being jobless. And I was like, okay, at that point I was making a little bit of money from affiliate commissions, but not very much at all, not enough to like sustain myself. And I had made some money trading. And it was actually during this period when I had some of my best success trading with Top 1 Futures. And I was actually able to pull out like 10K from them during that period in between jobs, which was super cool, kept me afloat and able to keep making content and all that kind of thing. And I'll be honest with you, I was like getting to the point I had told my wife, hey, I think I got to reach out to my dad. And I know he wants me to come back to the family business. He's always told me like, hey, it's here. Like, come on, And so I was getting to the point where it's like, I might have to, babe. Like, I don't like, I'm not making enough. Like, we got to have something sustainable. And I was like getting ready to pull the trigger and call him. Shout out to the legend Callan. Callan is actually Rake's manager. And so I know I feel like I've been talking and kind of ranting a lot here, but
no, you're good. Keep going.
I did an interview with Rake when I first started my Risk Life news page. One of the only interviews I've ever done. I've done 2. One of them was with Rake, and Rake flew me out to Cali. So I met Callan, his manager, in person. We got to hang out and do a podcast and everything. It's on my YouTube, Risk Life News. You can check it out. We drink like a whole bottle of tequila, smoke a couple J's. It's not your normal trading podcast. It's just a kind of couple guys having a good time. But anyway, so I did that podcast and met Callan. Callan, who is Rake's manager, also works with DJ at Stock Dads, who owns Stock Dads. And so I had this thing. I wanted to do it with Funder Pro. I wanted to do this trading show where it was live trading like a lot of other people were doing, but I wanted to sort of incorporate my Risk Life news show into the trading. So it would be like maybe there's some news in the morning that's kind of fun, then it's live trading, then you cut to some parody skits, commercials, then maybe some more live trading, and then it's maybe another news segment that's funny, right? Great. So I wanted to do a trading show that was not just your typical show up and day trade live. It had some other segments and stuff. And I was trying to get Funder Pro to allow me to do this. They wouldn't really do it. In between gigs, I started doing I did a couple episodes on my own where I pre-recorded news segments and that kind of thing. And then during my live stream, I would do a live stream and I would live trade. And then I would like go to commercial break and like play different segments. And so I did a few episodes of that. And after I did a few episodes of that, Callan just reached out to me with a couple questions about streaming and was like, hey man, what would your advice be to stream with this? I know you've been doing a little bit about it. You've been doing a little streaming on your own, that kind of thing. And so we just got to talking. I gave him some advice and one thing led to another. And he was like, we're looking to do some live streams, do a show. And I was like, well, I would love to sort of, produce, host, and, one thing led to another. And so now I'm hosting Stock Dads TV for Stock Dads Trading, which is cool. We've been doing that for about 3 months now.
How do you like it?
I like it, man. It's cool. It was a lot. Like, I knew nothing about streaming. Obviously, you're like, I feel like you're a veteran in this game. You've been doing it for a long time. So you probably know all the ins and outs. But when I was doing it, I didn't want to just like, okay, come on and just stream, right? I wanted to have these like overlays and different.
Well, dude, doing it that way is even more work.
Oh, and so I knew nothing about it. So like when I first like started and I started diving into like OBS and like building it all out and learning, it was like, I feel like I, spent a semester in self-taught college learning all this stuff.
It's a whole thing, bro. It's a whole skill. Yeah. Yeah. And then you start watching TV shows. Now that you know how you produce your live show, you're like, okay, look, they got an overlay. They got the fly-ins. They got the transitions. And you think about what goes into a TV show, like watching the NFL. It's a lot of work. So then when you're trying to self-produce and stream that at the same time, it's hard. But you guys have a good group of people. You guys share the load. I know like you guys, you're not just on there talking and rambling by yourself. So you guys have a good flow with it. How does that fit into your own trading? Now you gave us the timeline of everything, but now how does that fit into like you've been trading? You said you ran up good payouts with top one futures. Are you trading on the stream? Do you trade just specific hours? Let's talk a little bit about your strategy.
Yeah. So I do trade on the stream. I don't like suggest that anybody follows my trades by any means. Last year, I think you could technically say I was profitable. I did. I mean, I made like 15K on the year last year. So it's not like enough to live on, but
it's green. It's not losing
green,
money.
Right? And there were a couple months where I was in between jobs, and that extra 15K that I made from trading is what allowed me to sustain and kind of continue working in this career, right? So, this will be the start of year 5 for me. So that was year 4. So I think if you look at a normal trader's kind of timeline, hopefully I know
you're
some people
on
do
average.
faster,
I feel like you're about the same timeline I was on. You know what I mean? We're not exceptional, unfortunately.
No doubt. But one thing that we are, there's no quit, right? We're tenacious, right? That's like the number one
100%.
most important thing, right? You just got to stick at it. So I would say last year was my first year of profitability, and I'm hoping this year, is a bit more of a breakout year. It has been a little bit of a learning curve trading on stream, right? Like you mentioned, we do have a great group at Stock Dads. Stock Dads Discord, they probably have at least 15 different traders, but people that do a lot of different things. They have options traders, they have futures traders, they have people who just primarily invest longer term. They have people that, sell credit spreads and just try to compound and slow build to wealth. They have a very wide variety.
For everybody, very wide.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So every morning, Aaron is one of those guys where he does day trade, but he's more of kind of like a slower compounding wealth, the compounding effect kind of guy. And he does like a morning breakdown for us every morning. Then he comes back on at lunch and does a nooner breakdown for us. And those are just him solo. He goes through everything. Like he's going through bank and the VIX and all the indices and Bitcoin and oil. And he touches like every asset class, right? So we do have a great group. It has been a bit of a learning curve for me, just in all of it, right? Like producing the stream, planning on what's going to happen ahead of time, getting everything prepped inside of OBS, getting all my scenes laid out, and then sort of interacting with the traders while you're talking, trying to keep it light and going, while then also trying to watch different names and actually trade. Like it's like a lot. Like there's a point in time there where I kind of took a step back and didn't trade a whole lot and just focused on the show. But now that we're into, we've been doing it a few months, I'm starting to ramp the trading back up. So
when I started streaming, it was like that. I was an older guy that worked at the same company that I worked at. T3 was the name of the company. They still are, they're around. And like one of the guys didn't trade. He just streamed. And I always thought that was so weird. I'm like, how are you going to, but then you start really streaming and you're like, oh, I get it. And then if I was like 65 years old too, I'd be like, dude, I can't move my mouse that fast. You know what I'm saying? Like
I can't imagine trying to do that at 65. Yeah. Like I'm 35 and it was like definitely a learning curve. I finally got the Stream Deck set up though. And that's been,
it helps. I got one too. It helps.
It's been nice.
Spitting the links out, switching scenes. Yeah. So like now that you've kind of settled in with Stock Dads, do you find that you're trading more prop firm stuff, or are you trading more, you said names, so I assume you're trading equities. So like, are you trading cash account? What do you trade yourself usually?
So coming into this year, my plan is last year, I sort of focused in on one straight to funded for a period of time. I was really focusing on just like one top one account. I didn't kind of try to spread the love. I was trading well on it, so I locked in on that. This year, my goal is to sort of spread things out amongst a handful of different props. The top one, I ended up getting moved live. And so I can only trade one account with them now. So, obviously there's the option. I could just I know they have the Ignite funded accounts, right? Like trade 10 of those and spread the wealth out that way. But because I was moved live once, the goal is to get me back there. I can only trade one account with them now. So my goal is to trade, continue to trade with top one and then spread the love to a handful of different prop firms. And then I started with like a $2,000 small cash options account where I'm trying to I'm capable as we all are of like over trading, right? And
of course,
I had the most success that I've had with trading with a 20% consistency rule, kind of taking those base hits and stacking wins, right? So my goal is sort of to take that mentality and sort of spread it across to a bunch of different accounts. And so I just got started with that this year. But I'm someone who trades futures and options. I look at everything. I don't think you necessarily need to do one or the other. I think there's an advantage to using both options and futures.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the day, especially, right? Like there's just going to be different opportunities in different places. Yeah, I think spreading it the way Top One has it set up, like I have the pre-live account now with them too. I feel like it's kind of set up for you to have to trade. Like if there was a day I didn't want to trade my live account and instead I wanted to, maybe I didn't like the way the market looked or whatever it may be, I wanted to try trading something new, I'd have to go buy a sim account with a different firm the way that they have it right now, which kind of sucks. But it does, like, it's just a way more conservative approach compared to like some of the other firms that will allow you to not have to worry about just being live or sim, right? Like you can do both at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And for the options trading, I'll day trade options too, but part of that, obviously, you can't really swing trade with futures firms too. So I'm looking at options in terms of like a swing trading more as well too. Like right now, I'm holding a CVX Chevron swing trade, right? So like I'll trade options probably a little less frequently, and the futures are more of kind of like a day trade asset for me, I would say. So that's sort of how I'm approaching the two different assets.
Okay, so now back a little bit towards strategy. Are you trading the way that Rake taught you to trade, or have you adopted it into your own strategy now over time, especially on the future side of things?
Yeah, so I would say in terms of the way I approach the charts, that yes, I look at, he has sort of like a four pillars to his system, which are his levels, which we use it's basically an hourly level system from the hourly chart. A very specific way of finding like an exact price. It's not an area. It's like, here's one price down to the tick on NQ. I want to see that level trade, trade through, get back up above type of thing, right? So he has the level system, and then it's just like trend analysis, price action analysis, multi-time frame analysis. So how the weekly and the daily and everything are interacting, which we can dive into that a little bit more. I think that's one of the more interesting concepts, right? And I think I'm forgetting one now, but it's levels, trend analysis, multi-time frame analysis. There might be one other thing. There's one other thing, but I can't remember exactly what one of those.
That's okay. Well, take me down the rabbit hole then of the
So like the multi time frame analysis would be, right. So you want your time frames to be aligning essentially right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the daily is going to be in an uptrend, and then all the way down to the, the 15, the hourly, the 2 minute, the 1 minute, they're all going to be in an uptrend. Doesn't necessarily mean that, right? It's like the daily chart could have been in a very strong uptrend, right? And it could potentially be due for a pullback. So before the daily chart starts to see a pullback, well, first the 2 minute chart is going to have to flip into a downtrend. And then the 5 minute chart would have to flip into a downtrend. And then, the 15 minute, and then the hourly. So it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, the daily chart's in an uptrend, but maybe I want to short because it's due for a pullback. So then you scale down to a smaller time frame. You start to watch for the trend flip, and then on and so forth, right? You can sort of paint a story by looking at all the different time frames in alignment with each other, which is probably kind of like a basic way of putting it. He has a lesson on it that's, almost 2 hours long, that it's one of the lessons that he dives into in his mastermind more in depth than any other lesson. But so that's one of the things that I watch a lot. And so I still trade his system. The one thing that I've incorporated differently is adding into my winning positions. I'm a huge fan of the book Best Loser Wins, which I've talked about before publicly. I've talked about on my page. But that was the first time I had ever really even considered trading that way. When I first learned about trading, most people talk about you take a trade, it starts to work in your favor. You scale out 1/3, scale out another third, maybe hold some runners, right? That was sort of like
not the way Tom talks about it.
Yeah, that's right. So that was like how the only way my brain had really ever sort of considered trading, right? And when I read that book, I really liked it at first, and I did the audio book. And it was, I think, like my third time through it. Something just sort of clicked in my brain, where it was almost like the hair of my arm stood up. I like got the chills, and it was like every moment of my trading career where I had ever like finished a trading day and then I went to my wife and been like, "Look at this trade. If I had just held, it was like they all flashed through my brain, like, and it was like what he was saying in the book, just like, oh, I get it now. Like it was like I really understood it like the third time through the book, right? And so when I started applying that approach to my trading is when I found a lot more success. I had to really train my brain to, any time my brain wanted to take a trim, it was like, nope, hold. And then the market would start to pull back and you start to get that panic, like it's going against me. You'd be like, nope, this is when you're adding into it. Right? So I did that for a long time, and it wasn't perfect at the start, right? I had a bit of a learning curve. So now that I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had a decent bit of payouts trading this way, what I've found that's best, taking the system I learned with Rake, taking the things I learned from Best Loser Wins, the book, the way I've sort of now applied this is that I'll take a entry position. If it starts to work in my favor, somewhere along the lines, we start to get a pullback, I will then add into that trade. At that point, then I'm looking for another new high. Maybe I'm aiming for a certain target, something like that. And if we do get that, I will then take off majority of the position, but still hold runners. And then from there, I'm very willing to add back in to use those runners as like, if the market's now trending in my favor, I'm willing to then continue to add and use that original entry with those runners to sort of anchor that position and just scale my stop with it and sort of continue to try to squeeze the most out of that trade. So I trade very dynamic.
Is that easier to do in futures, do you think? Or
yes.
Is that easier to do? Yes.
100%. Because with futures, right, you're doing it and your new average price, it's just, the chart's
it's
automatically,
right.
It's calculating, it's showing. With options, I don't do that nearly as much. Every now and then I'll maybe take like another strike a little bit further out or something like that to add.
Yeah, but that's different. It's
different. I agree with you. Yeah. So this is something specifically in futures, but I like to do one add. Then I like to lock in sort of a profit amount that I'm happy with. So if like the rest of the position goes to break even, so be it. But then I try to use the entries, if it's a good entry, use the runners to sort of squeeze more out of that trade, depending on how price action's going, how the chart's lining up with my levels, all that good stuff, right?
Do you have tips then for everybody that's listening about specifically taking payouts with prop firms? Because I feel like you have good experience trading not just different markets, but trading cash account and prop account. I've been really just focused on prop account. I have not had a futures cash account yet. So any tips for everybody listening?
Yeah. So I'm someone who prefers like the instant funded accounts. And what I do, and this is what I did when I had the most success, was I would buy an instant funded account. And I think for the, let's just say the 50K account with top one, let's just talk those numbers, right? So
yeah,
I think you had to, what is it? Maybe you have to, I think you have to get to $3,000, right?
Yep.
Is that the profit target, right? So you have a 50K account, you have to get to $3,000. That's and then you have to adhere to the 20% consistency rule. So what I did is I just did that math. Okay, so your max winning days, you don't want to go over $600 essentially, right? Because then that puts you over the 20% consistency. You end up having to make more. So my advice is to find out, well, depending on whatever that account is, do that math. Max winning days is 20%. And I would then set my risk settings to that target, right? $600. And so the position will actually auto liquidate me. I would do like $605 to give it a little cushion because you never know how you get filled, right? So what I would then do is when I have, try to let your good entries, like when I've had my most successes, I get that good entry, right? And it starts to work in my favor. I add to that winner. As I start getting close to that $600 profit target or whatever it is, I may take off most of it to be comfortable. But then when I use those runners, I know this is just what I just said, is like, but use those runners to like, okay, it's like do the math with, if you're floating 50 points of profit, right? And you're like, okay, I know I can add in this many contracts and it's got to get back to this point, and then I'll hit my max winning day. Like, don't be afraid to sort of utilize those winners and milk that and get to that max winning day, and then just lock it, call it a day, and move on, right? I think the 20% consistency rule can be beneficial because it's like it gives you that target that you need to like lock it in, and when, okay, it's time to turn it off, walk away, call it a day.
It also makes sense, I guess, from a prop firm's perspective of like why you wouldn't want people to YOLO it and pass a challenge in a day. What type of challenge do you pass in a day? You know what I'm saying? Is it really a challenge at all?
Yeah.
So I think I get a lot of hate comments on my shit about consistency score.
Yeah. So, and everybody's gonna be different. And here's what I'll say: when
in my head, the intraday trailing drawdown is worse than the consistency.
Oh,
score.
I would never trade an account with intraday trailing drawdown, especially, right? Like I talked about, I like Tom Hugard's Best Loser Wins, right? Adding, you did the show with him, right? He talks about, we didn't dive into his book in detail, but I'm sure your followers are probably aware, but he talks into, constantly just adding into your winning trades. And when I read his book, the biggest problem that I left with was, when do you ever take profit? That was like the one thing. I was like, he never talks about taking profit.
Which is the same thing I get to when I talk to Brian Shannon. And you know what it is? It's because they trail stops. They let the market just take them out of their trades.
Yeah. And so Tom, for those of you that don't know, I don't know if he's still doing it, but at one point he was trading for free inside of Telegram. And I was at a certain point, I was getting up at like 3 a.m. to hop on his streams and watch his trade because I loved his book so much. And what blew my mind was that, like, when I listened to his book, he never talked about taking profit. But when I watched him trade live, I couldn't believe how quickly he would just cut a trade and call it and like be done. I was like, wow, because the problem I ran into, and this is what I think people can run into if you don't have a consistency score, right? I was somebody who very much preached this high R for a long time, high R multiple. I hate consistency scores. Like, why would I ever want to limit what I can make in a day, right? And there were days when I would apply this adding to my winning trades, and I would have these insane winning days, but I didn't know how to turn it off. There was days where made 10K in a day on an Apex account, and this was after I was already above the buffer. So this was a long time ago. This was when I first started trading. This is before Apex changed a lot of the rules. But like, I made 10K in a day twice in a week on an Apex account, and then I blew the account up before I ever took a payout. Because like and I get it. Not most people are gonna have more discipline than that. But it's like when I was applying what I learned from Tom's book to my trading, and it was working. It worked so well that I didn't know when to be like, dude, chill. Like, what are you still doing? Why are you still trying to push?
Isn't that interesting?
It became like you said,
it's a right. It was but you were going to say it became a video game, right?
Yeah.
But I was going to say, it's like you successfully rewired your brain the way you were supposed to be thinking about it.
And then it got to a point where it's like, when you were feeling it and you were doing good like trading that type of way, I just would start to get a little cocky and just like, when was it ever enough, right? So and I do still think that everyone's goal should to try to get at least some of your trading to be like that. And I do think that's one of the advantages that we have today as traders, right? You can trade top one, or you can trade these other prop accounts that have consistency rules, and you can get a bunch of different accounts to spread the love. But then maybe you go to a prop that doesn't have a consistency rule, and you can sort of try to apply that and go for bigger wins and push it over there. Like it's a rare advantage that we have in today's I guess a new advantage that we have in today's trading world, where
it's so true.
You can apply and trade accounts in different ways. So but yeah, so after going through that experience, right, where I was crushing it, having these huge winning days and not being able to stop, and then when I went to I had this forced stop where it's like, you can't go over this number, there's no point in going over this number, is when I had more success. Because it was like I took the ability that I learned how to maximize my winners by adding to my winners. I took that skill that I learned, but then I had a cap on it. And it was like,
I was gonna say you capped it so you couldn't fuck it up.
Exactly. So it's like I applied the same skill of, once you get a good entry, you squeeze it till you get to that max win, but you know there's a ceiling on it. And that, so the combination of those two things, which is weird because they're kind of opposite, but the combination of those two things,
no, it makes sense.
Is
That's what brings it together.
Difference for me.
So now you mentioned Ace, who, like we all know from last week, 2 episodes ago, doesn't miss. Any big lessons from your big losses along the way? Because like you said, there were many. Now more wins than losses, but go back a little bit just to share with the audience of, like, if you had to do anything differently, what would you do to maybe avoid as many losses?
I would say maybe like more financial goal setting, where even if you don't have, say, a 20% consistency rule and you're someone who's trading options on a cash account, maybe just have I never really set goals. It was just like, I want to make money trading. So it was just like, I wasn't like I was trying to add an extra 5K of income a month or anything like that. So like, it allowed me to kind of just keep trying to go for more. So maybe just more, financial goal setting. Don't just, shoot from the hip. It's
a really good tip, actually, of like have a stop point.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you mean like day to day, like have a target for even day to day?
Because I do think there's some, like, the thing that makes trading so amazing is that there's not a limit on how much we can make. But most of us get into this, and if you talk to anybody who's truthful, they say, I got into it for more the freedom. It's sure, if you can get rich, great, you can get rich. But if you can just make a decent living and work, you can make money trading 30 minutes an hour a day, as you know, right? But a lot of times we all lose sight of that along the path, and we sit the charts all day and try to make money and compare ourselves to other people, and our ego gets involved, right? So, so I would say maybe I think the goal setting and planning would be good. And I don't think you should necessarily limit yourself, but maybe set a goal where it's like, okay, cool, you locked it in. Use your runners, right? Learn to use your runners,
like even keep in perspective of how much money you're making, maybe too. Like if you're making $600 before 10:30 in the first hour of the day, keep that. How many days would you work at your job to make $600? Right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, 100. I can't even. How many times I've made like $2,000 in the first hour of a day trading options,
and then give it back.
And then I sit there for 5 hours or 6 hours just to end up break even or red. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, it's a good thought of, like, you got to check yourself. Are you more addicted to trading, or are you more addicted to making money? Right? Like, what do you want to do more of?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I think stacking those winning days and compounding them. I am a believer. I do think trading with a positive R multiple. I know I've seen some clips of you talking about this, and I know I've talked to Tanner about this.
Don't believe everything you see on the internet about me, Tyler.
That's all good. I love your content, bro. I love your stuff. Thanks, with that being said, like, one of the things that and it's funny because it's sort of opposite the mentality of the Tom Hugard stuff, which I still believe in so much, but I'm not always. And I think this is more with prop trading than it is maybe with options trading, but I'm not, I do with prop trading, taking your base hits and maybe even a negative R trade where it's like, hey, I feel pretty good about this. Like, I think this is 80% of the time this trade's going to work out. And maybe I'm risking one to make a half, but it's, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, to where I used to kind of look down on that. So yeah, things I'm learning as I go, but.
Well, I think that there's a lot of people that are taking payouts that kind of prove some of these things wrong, so it makes you question everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. It's true. Like, I saw other people talk about it who seem to be taking consistent payouts. It's like, hey, listen, those 1-to-1 R's, those whatever, stack up the high high win rate trades is okay. They don't always have to be 1 to 5s, or you know what I mean?
For sure. What do you think? I got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
What do you think? Because you're streaming and you're talking to so many traders, what do you see people do that you think is a mistake that holds them back? Anything come to mind when I ask you that? Just because I'm sure you get a lot of questions in your live chat. I'm sure you get a lot of like behind the scenes, right? Like you've worked for a couple prop firms, you know a lot of people. So what do you think people are
it's a good question. Wrong? What are people doing wrong?
Because you saw the stat, right? What did Topstep say? 3% of traders in 2024 took a payout. 3%.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think about it, and I'm lucky. Like I've taken payouts from Topstep, from my funded futures, from Top One, from maybe one other firm. So like I hear those numbers, and I'm like, and I've taken payouts, but I haven't had near the success that I want to. I'm trying to think like, what did I do for so long, and what do a lot of other traders do? Let's see. I had something come to my mind. I'm trying to think of how I want to word it. I do think so. The trading space has become so much more about prop firms, and like when I first started, it was people would talk about what accounts, like what broker to trade with, that you could use a cash account instead of a margin account, so you didn't have the pattern day trader role and stuff like that, right? And then Topstep came on the scene about a year into my trading is when you started hearing about them in Apex. But I think people do a couple of things. I don't want to say this. Sometimes I hear a lot of beginners who will take challenges and they're like, I've been on this prop firm challenge for like a month and a half. Do you have any suggestions for passing it? And for lack of a better term, I want to be like, yeah, size up and full port the bitch. Like, what do you like? It's a challenge. Like, what do you like? And so I do think props are meant to be traded a little bit more aggressively, say, than your own maybe personal cash account.
I agree.
And I think maybe some beginners don't necessarily realize that at first. But if you're a beginner, I don't think that's
a good tip.
You're still kind of learning. You know what I mean? You're still kind of learning your strategy if you're a beginner. Trying to think if there's one specific mistake that's a good
tip though. Caution of under trading, caution of like taking a challenge too seriously. I've definitely had people in our group do that, and I have to tell them, shit or get off the pot kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, I think maybe the one other common thing I would say is having like too high of expectations. Like they see these just other influencers and stuff, people who are either faking it to make them look better than they really are, or people like yourself who have put in more time, blood, sweat, and tears than these people realize and make it look easy. And then they think like, oh, I should be rich. Like it's okay if trading just like pays for your family vacation this year, or if trading just adds an extra 10 grand to your savings account so you can retire. You do that every year so you can retire a couple years early. Like it doesn't need to be this thing where you become this, ultra wealthy person. If you have a job
or a trade influencer, as you would say, you don't have to become a trade. You can just trade.
Trade fluencer. You gotta blend the words.
Sorry. I'm drinking too much of this Hennessy, bro. It's got
Dr. MLK, shut up. I lost your audio. Audio cut off.
Because I muted myself. It's got this like touch mute thing here. I click it off that. No, but I was
getting too fancy with that fancy mic, bro.
Dude, I had the old microphone for like literally 10, 12 years. Same microphone forever. This is my second microphone in all my content creation. But what I was saying
is that a Shure? I got like the cheaper version.
Yeah, it's the same exact one almost. No, it's the same one. Same basic one. But dude, a lot of people see the trading stuff online and then think they need to be a trade fluencer, and they don't, right? Like you said, you can just make side income from this. And especially with prop firms, I have a guy, we just had our weekly, we do like these 3 times a week coaching meetings. And this dude comes in and he's like, I'm under trading. And I was under trading because I bought too many challenges and I wanted to copy trade. And then I didn't want to lose them because I spent too much money on them and I shouldn't have ever done that. And I was choking them. So then I didn't do anything. And now I'm not learning and I spent too much money. And it's like, yeah, that's a common problem that people I think get sucked into with the prop firms when they're better off going slow to an extent. then I think taking your advice at some point comes into play. Like no one, you know, at least the way we go, we're like, if you're in a challenge for more than a month, what are we doing here? Like, are we doing that on purpose? Like, are you actually trade? Or are you too scared to trade? Like, well, you know, because some people, they get into the prop firm stuff and they think that if they fail a challenge, like they are failed forever. It's like, I don't know a single person that's taking payouts that has not failed a challenge. Would you agree?
Yeah. I think anybody who's taking payouts are definitely probably trading the accounts, you know, a little bit more aggressively and just have a pretty solid win rate.
They have failed a challenge. No way you're going 100% win rate. No way.
There may be one or two trade fluents out there who are trying to convince you otherwise, but yeah, I doubt.
They can keep screaming, dude. I mean, like you do a good job. Like I like how you blend your content where you still show some family stuff. I try to do the same. You know, you got to be cautious about it to some extent because of all these fucking weirdos on the internet. But like, I think you do a good job. It's like guys like us that try to show like trading and then real life can blend together, and you can be a regular person. You don't have to like rent a Lambo and a Rolex to be a trader. I think we're doing the world a good service, bro. Because I'm scared about what's coming when people lose their jobs more and more to AI. I think more and more people will want to make side income, like how you did. Start flipping clothes, start flipping sofas, start getting into trading, start doing these things that come off as a potential side hustle. I think people will inevitably get into it. So setting the right expectation is really important, because you get into this and you're like, I want to make money. I want to make money. Well, when you get into it, you really have to fall in love with it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the only reason you're still doing, even with the streaming and everything else you have going on, is because you still have the bug for trading. You still like that problem solving puzzle that we have to, you know, come to solve every day, come to play with every day. So
yeah, most definitely. Yeah. I definitely enjoy the challenge that trading is. And I agree. I don't think everybody needs to be a trading influencer. I feel blessed that I got into it because it's sort of allowed me to tap into this, the creativity muscle that I enjoy. And
for sure,
you know, most of my trading stuff is more just is fun, right? And I try to give value as well. But for anybody who does want to get into trading content, I think what's so important, I think people resonate with transparency and honesty. And so like
100%,
you know, if you're talking about your losses and you're being open about your hardships, that's the way I would suggest to go, as opposed to
it's better than talking about your wins.
100%. Yeah.
No one believes you when you talk about your wins.
So you just said it like Topstep. If the rate is only 3% of people are getting a payout. So if all your content is, look at this payout I got, it's like, okay, well, you're like 3% of people are relating to you, while the other 97% are kind of like, damn, why can't I do that? Right. So you're going to get a lot more people relating to you if you're honest about your journey. So
100%. That's why you didn't wear any of your jewelry or your ice out watches for this MLK Day podcast, right?
That's it.
That would have been good too. That would have been good too.
That's it.
I'm wearing this ice out chain and these watches for MLK.
Man, I've never been a jewelry guy. If I even became like the multi-millionaire trade influencer guy, like, I don't know if you could get me to that guy. Do you see the viral content with the gold? Somebody used his name to rip him off.
Yeah, Trax.
You're a Jew. You've seen Trax.
Yeah, dude, I'm Jew. I see all the Jewish stuff on social media, bro.
That's where your whole feed. Those guys.
That's my whole feed, dude. No, I love that guy, dude. He's always been calling people.
He's the only guy that can maybe get me in some jewelry. But
dude, that's the next character you should play. Is like an aggressive trade influencer who it just starts calling people out. There's so many, dude. I mean, like the industry though, you know, it's in a good spot, I think, to not to linger on this topic, but like there's so much bullshit that has now come to the surface because there's so many also good people that you can see the difference now more clearly, I think, than back in 2017, 2018, 2019. It was easy to get scammed by Forex gurus because you couldn't see. The waters were muddy. Now it's just so different. I feel like it's so easy to smell bullshit a mile away nowadays.
I agree. I do think it's a lot more. When I first started, it was definitely I had no idea who to believe when I first. I feel like I kind of got lucky with Rake because he's definitely one of the genuine good ones in the industry.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I feel like I got lucky because I know there's a lot of people who come in and spend a lot of money on courses with people that are just trying to sell a dream.
Full of shit.
They have no success in themselves.
So now we'll send everybody where for today's episode? Stock Dads or your page? Where do we want to send them?
That's both. So if obviously my page is at Risk Life News, but if you guys, obviously I would very much appreciate it for anybody who goes and follows actually Stock Dads TV. So the Stock Dads page has a big following. Stock Dads TV, we're still trying to grow.
Nice. Okay. So that's the new page. So we'll send the link there and the link to your page too. So
Yep. And a lot of my content now, since I'm streaming so much, we're on 4 days a week. We talked about this, I think, a little pre-stream, but the Stock Dads TV schedule is we do Monday through Thursday, 8:15 a.m. to anywhere. Sometimes we end at 1, sometimes we end at 2, depending on what segment we got going on. But
that's a long stream, so that's good.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's live trading from 9:30 to 11:30. The afternoon segment is normally just more fun. I have like a game show segment where I make them answer trivia questions while they're trading and scalping against each other and stuff like that. The first hour before market open is Aaron kind of doing his market overview breakdown and stuff. So it's a little bit of different segments. It's not all just people sitting there staring at the charts the whole time. So we switch it up a little bit.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad we got to finally. I was going to say bang this out, but I've been trying not to say that to the guy guests. That's just not the direction I'm trying to go with the podcast. But I'm glad we finally got to get it done. This has been great, dude.
I'm glad hopefully we got to bend this show over, baby.
Yeah, bend this show over and bang it out, dude. For everybody listening, thank you for staying all the way through. Please make sure you head to the description of this video, click the links, subscribe to Stock Dads TV, check out Tyler's page as well. I'm sure there's some funny skits coming out here soon. But Tyler, definitely part 2 in person, bro. Whether we're in Florida, whether we're in Pennsylvania, somewhere, we'll do part 2 in person. So thank you, dude. I really appreciate you doing this.
Same thing. If we do it again, we definitely got to run it back in person, 100%. We'll bring some Hennessy next time for Dr. MLK.
Let's go. Yeah, no, next one we'll have to do it on like President's Day, and we could get dressed up as like George Washington.
Oh, I'd love that.
That'd be great, dude. I would fucking love that. Full thing, full wig, Confederate outfit, dude. 100 thing.
That'll be good. That'll be good. I'll wear. What's the type of Jewish person that has the curly things? I'll go
Hasidic. I think they're Hasidic Jews. Yes,
I'll go Hasidic Jew outfit. You can go,
dude. If we did a trading Jew podcast title, I think we'd go viral for sure. Either go viral or get blackballed by YouTube. I'm not sure. Saying that in this one, they're gonna blackball us probably now because we said that.
No. Listen, as a Jew, you're allowed. We get the pass.
True.
We get the pass.
True.
Yeah.
YouTube gods. Listen, please let us go.
Yes, the Israel should be boosting this podcast episode.
Yes, you're right.
Hold on, I do have a question for you. I remember I asked you this in your DMs one day. I think it was, and I forget your answer, but as a Jewish person, you married a German woman. Is that correct?
I did.
I absolutely love it. You got Hitler rolling over in his grave, baby. That's right. Yes. Let's go.
He's like, he thinks he's trying to convert me. Yeah, my wife is German and English and something else. So she's a mix of Western European.
Well, here we gotta do one more.
Drink to that.
One last cheers to that. That's right. That's right. Get fucked, Hitler. There we go. Cheers.
Listen, cheers, everybody. Cheers to that, Tyler. Cheers to you, buddy. Guys, links are in the description. This has been great. Tyler, appreciate you, buddy. Listeners, thanks you guys for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Absolutely, guys. We'll see you guys next week for another episode.
Peace out, everybody.